All right. I feel like I just spoke to you all because last night, not even 24 hours ago, because I'm recording this Tuesday afternoon, I recorded an episode with Andy and RJ, two of my good pals, and we talked about MLB predictions. So if you're interested in that, make sure you check that out. That'd be episode 106. So just one before this. Um, yeah, I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. So if you're interested in checking that out, do it. And if you're not interested in that and you're just here for the NFL stuff, that sounds good too. I mean, we did talk a little bit of NFL at the end. It's mostly MLB. You can always go into the description and click the part that there's a timestamp that gets you to the NFL part. But anyways, let's get into this show. It's our weekly NFL talk. Not a ton to speak on. I will say, when I was putting together the script, I was like, there's not a lot for I have to say. Might be less than 40 minutes. I feel like these average out to about 40 minutes, it usually feels like, right? Let me check this. What? So last week was 44. Week before that was 51. Before that was 47. Then the one before that doesn't really count because it was like kind of a half one. So yeah, feels like these last couple ones have been about 40 minutes. This might be a little shorter than the last couple ones, just because I feel like I've covered a decent amount of things I want to talk about as of late. Not a lot has shifted. Let's start off with my Carolina Panthers. We did lose to the Cincinnati Bengals, and I'm not really that concerned. I honestly thought we looked really good. I said yesterday on the podcast with Andy and RJ, I never am the guy that's like, oh, well, the refs, they screwed us. But there were a couple times, there was a period where there was back-to-back pass interference calls on J.C. Horn that the announcers disagreed with both of them, and that ended up leading to a Cincinnati touchdown from Zach Moss. It just gave them more and more first downs in the red zone, and then they got a touchdown before the half, and then they got the football back after the half, and so that was just kind of screwy. We ended up losing 34-24, so to me, losing by 10 with both of our top linebackers going down in the game with Shaq Thompson and Josie Jewell, it's huge to me that we were still able to be within 10. So to me, I'm happy with the team. Granted, maybe we probably would have lost even without the refs' help. I get it. But I was a part of me that was like, yeah. I think definitely if you went to Roger Goodell and you said, hey, who would you prefer to win this, the Panthers or Bengals? He's definitely going to lean Bengals because he doesn't want them to start 0-4. So that was kind of my thought. Not blaming the loss on them, though, at all. We definitely had some situations we could have performed better. But got a big win last week. Not a big win this week. But it wasn't really like a bad loss. Like this loss, I feel so much better. This is honestly like one of the least upsetting losses I can remember in recent Panther history. And I feel like we're going to win next week against the Bears. And that's going to be really funny because obviously there are probably some Panther fans out there that are like, if we would have never traded up for Bryce, we could have had Caleb Williams. And while I don't want Caleb Williams at all, I do think it would be extra nice to just kind of stick it and be like, yeah, boom, we just beat the absolute piss out of Caleb Williams. So told you guys we didn't need him. That would be kind of great. So I do think we're going to get the win next week. As far as how I feel about the team as a whole, just keep riding this with Andy. If Bryce is eventually going to start, fine. I don't think he ever will be that level of quality for us. And plan on getting Cam Ward in the draft. But the only problem is Cam Ward's been performing a little too well in college football. Like, he's probably going to be a Heisman candidate, probably going to win a playoff game. I'm like, oh, no. Like, I was already high on him, but it's like now he might go even higher than expected. And I don't want Jalen Milroe. I don't want Quinn Ewers. I don't want Carson Beck. I don't trust these guys now, at least for the Panthers. It doesn't mean they won't be good, but these guys that come out of pre-built systems, because it just, a guy like Shador or a guy like Cam Ward impresses me a little more because they did have to elevate some talent, especially Shador, because other than Travis Hunter, he doesn't like he has the most talented team. So to me, that's why those should be the top two quarterbacks off the board. And hopefully the Panthers are able to snag Cam Ward. Baker absolutely cooked the Eagles. Baker Mayfield just manhandled the Philadelphia Eagles. I have nothing else to say other than I'm glad Baker continues to win. He's only got one loss in the year. So props to Baker continuing to cook up. They ended up winning 33-16. Jared Goff was perfect last night. Jared Goff didn't miss a single pass. He was 18 for 18 and Yeah, so props to Jared Goff Lions. Bit of an odd win because it was like, oh, this game's over. And then it looked like for a second Seahawks were going to come back. And then the Lions got the interception with like a minute left. And I was like, okay, never mind. So it was kind of odd. But, yeah, big win. I don't know if it's a big win for the Lions, but now there's only 2 undefeated teams. So the Vikings and the Chiefs. And the Lions get winning over the Seahawks. I do still think the Lions would be, for my money, the best team in the NFC. Obviously, they're going to have to face the Vikings twice, so it'll be interesting when that matchup eventually occurs some point this year. So, I thought the Lions look really good. I do still think they're a great, great chance to win the Super Bowl. I genuinely don't actually know what happened between Dolphins-Titans. Oh, my goodness. Okay, the Titans won 31-12. I had literally no concept. I didn't even pay attention to that game. So, wow, 31-12. Goodness. Yeah, I was wrong about Tom Brady coming out of retirement for the Dolphins. I honestly really wish it would have happened. Would be a lot more interesting than Tyler Huntley out there dealing, because that's what's happening right now, and it's clearly not paying off. So, yeah, I don't really know what you do when you're the Dolphins. Like, I don't really know what the move is. It's because I feel like you kind of needed, like I was making jokes that Tom Brady should come out for him, but that's genuinely like what they need. Like, I don't really know what else they can do. So here they sit, I guess. I don't know, but all right. Another thing about that game is the Titans. Like, when you're the Titans, you're also in a weird spot. Like, I've seen some mock drafts where it's like the Titans go for a new quarterback. Like, do you think they're just going to move on from Will Levis that quick? It's like, I guess they would. I think they're just in an odd spot. I don't really know what the Titans are going to do. Right now, we're in a weird spot of the year where it's like you don't want to overreact and be like, oh, this. But in the same sense, we're starting to get a decent idea of which teams are good, which teams are bad. The Titans are in a weird spot. Let's talk about Sunday Night Football. Bills got smacked 35-10 after I just talked up Josh Allen on last week's podcast. So maybe the Klinger curse caused that. I hope it was not me, but there's a chance. Derrick Henry kind of reclaimed I'm the best running back in the NFL spot at the age of 30. So props to Derrick Henry for that. We've been seeing the resurgence of some guys that were really good in like 2019. They're now good again, like Alvin Kamara, him, Saquon. Not that Saquon ever really left, but Saquon was having a lot of injury problems. So Derrick Henry right now, just, wow, he tore it up on Sunday Night Football. I was playing a guy with him in fantasy, and I was like, well, maybe there's a chance. And then no, obviously not. Derrick Henry was incredible this week. And the Ravens look really good. This is the best they've played all year. Bills, probably the worst they played all year. They had that trick pass that was open, and then the Ravens defense, just saw it in time. And were able to get the fumble from that. I still think the Bills look really good. I think the Ravens were just ready to get. The Ravens are also in a bad spot. They were, potentially going to fall to 1-3. And so, to me, I think they had a little extra motivation for this game. And so, to me, that's when you're the Bills, I wouldn't really be too upset because that Ravens team, I think, really felt like they needed to get a win bad. Whereas you, on the other hand, you were 3-0. I do think the pressure, you had everything to lose. The Ravens had everything to lose. The Bills, it was kind of like, let's see if we can keep this streak going. And so to me, the Ravens, you either, get crushed under that pressure, or you step up and cook, and that's what the Ravens is. They stepped up, and they got a huge win. And, they look really good. I can't lie. The Ravens played uber well. And is uber well a thing? Super well? Obviously, super well is a thing. I don't know if uber well is. I don't know why I said uber well. But Ravens obviously played super well and got a huge win over the Bills. That was kind of like, it was bad enough. I was like, wow, they're going to put Mitch Trubisky in. And then they did. I was, whoa. So I think the Bills will bounce back. This week they have the Texans, and I think they can bounce back against them. I seriously do. So, all right. Next thing I wanted to touch upon. The Jaguars and the Browns might be the 2 worst teams in the NFL. I was talking about Andy and RJ last night. Yeah, they legitimately might be the 2 worst in the NFL. the Jaguars definitely probably going to get rid of Peterson by the end of this year, make some big changes. I don't really see a world where that team's any good, and I think that division is tough for them because the Texans are obviously good, and then the Colts and the Titans feels like are on the come up. I don't really know if the Titans are on the come up, but maybe they are. The Colts obviously are. So to me, that's what I'm concerned about if I'm the Jaguars. Is like if we just gotten lost in the shuffle and we kind of lost our window of being competitive, and now we are this. And that's like, ugh, icky, gross, Browns, on the other hand, guys, I don't. Come on. I mean, you know how I feel about them. You know how I feel about the Deshaun thing. And my thing is, let's say they do really bad this year. One of the worst teams in football, have a top 10 pick. I can't see Stefanski being a guy who wants a rookie quarterback. Like, I don't think Stefanski's like, yeah, I want to go get Cam Ward. Yeah, I want to go get Jalen Milroe. Like, I don't see that. So, to me, is it like, okay, the Browns are going to take somebody with their top 10 pick. It's like a quality player. Wait, maybe they get Travis Hunter, right? I don't think they'll get. Let's live in that world, right? The Browns draft Travis Hunter. Do they then trade and try to get like Kirk Cousins? Because to me, that would be a very Browns move. Because Stefanski worked with Cousins in the past, would still do that, or are the Browns going to go full reset and they're going to fire Stefanski? Like I thought they would if they had a bad year this year. Even though I don't think Stefanski's like an elite coach, but I don't think he's bad enough to get rid of. To me, he's like right in the Zach Taylor range. Maybe he's a little better than Zach Taylor. But they're probably going to fire Stefanski if they don't make the playoffs this year, which to me isn't the right move. You don't want to keep doing this coaching changes all the time. I don't think it's a good move at all, but I think that's what they'll do. And then maybe the new coach wants to bring in his guy. I don't know. It's kind of the thing is, it's nice about when you feel like you have a head coach because, like, I'm really happy with Dave Canales right now for the Panthers. I think we found our head coach as far as the Panthers go. And when the draft comes, I want to do what Canales wants to do. If Canales says, I'm ready to draft my quarterback, I want Cam Ward, let's do it. Let's do it. I trust Canales. If Canales says, I really like Darnold back on this team, let's go get him from the Vikings. Okay, Canales, I believe you. Let's do it. It's whatever I feel like I want to be led by the coach as long as you have a good coach. When the Browns went out and got Deshaun Watson, that wasn't the Stefanski call. That was a boss call from the organization. A lot of people, Browns fans I talked to, think Stefanski wanted to try to get Kirk Cousins that offseason. They went off and got Deshaun. So I don't see them trusting Stefanski this offseason. I think they're going to get rid of him. They're going to bring somebody new in. I don't really know what to do from there. Now, Vrabel works for the Browns. So maybe they say, Vrabel, you're going to be the head coach now. We're going to move you up. We can keep Schwartz as the DC instead of promoting him. We're going to promote Vrabel to head coach. He has head coach experience. And now Vrabel's your head coach. And Vrabel, what do you want to do this offseason? That's probably what I see happening for the Browns. That would be my best guess. I just don't know if any of this is going to pay off. I just think they talk about windows a lot in the NFL. I think the Browns' window was 2020 to this year, and they messed it all up by getting rid of Baker Mayfield. And I pretty much will never forgive them. So then there's that. All right, the Chiefs beat the Chargers. You guys know I thought the Chargers win that game. And they go up 10-0. I'm like, all right, here we go. And even like Tony Romo on the broadcast was like, oh, well, you don't want to go up 10-0 against Mahomes. He's never lost to a team that went up 10-0 against him. And I was like, that's insane, but whatever. I'm like, yeah, that's an insane stat, so like good for Mahomes. But then I'm like, this is where that streak ends because it's like nuts, right? And then what do you know? Chiefs won 17-10. And it's just the Chargers had it. They had it right there. And they just couldn't get any more than 10. It was so weird. It's just like they couldn't get down the field and score again. And so I really wanted to see the Chargers get their first win underneath Harbaugh. I know that was his goal. And it was just disappointing. And the Chiefs, I mean, they keep winning, even though it's been the Chiefs' way the last really every year since Super Bowl 55, I'd say, where it's like, I think it's gotten worse every year, though, where it's like they win and you're like, how did they get that? Like, how did that happen? And then they get to playoffs and they're dominant. It's just so weird. It's like during the regular season, it's like they're going through the motions. They don't really look that good. And then when they get to the playoffs, they're just going to lock in. It's so weird. I've never seen another NFL team like it. I guess when you're this good, you can do that. Fields took his first loss in Pittsburgh, lost a close one to the Colts 24-27. I don't know why I said it like that. It should have done reverse order. 27-24. Joe Flacco came in and started dealing for the Colts. I 100% believe the Browns should have kept him, but whatever. Joe Flacco being elite is just a thing that happens now. I don't understand how he does it, but Joe Flacco came and balled out for him. If I'm the Steelers, I am not moving off Fields. I honestly think Fields has been playing exceptional for you, and I go into this week, we're going to play Sunday Night Football, and we're starting Justin Fields on Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys, and I honestly think he can get a big win for you guys. So that's what I would do if I'm the Steelers. On national television, it'll be the first time a lot of people have seen the Steelers team. I think Justin Fields can really turn heads and impress. Vikings are still undefeated. Now, to me, there are people that are like, oh, should the Vikings reevaluate their quarterback situation? Is Darnold their guy? No. I think JJ's going to come in and cook next year in the same spot Darnold's in right now. I think you're going to get incredible trade value out of Darnold this offseason. And you ride this out to the playoffs. You're probably a playoff team. And you lose in the wild card or divisional, and that's that. It was a fun year. You come in next year with JJ, and you have even higher expectations. And now he's in his second year, even though it's essentially his rookie year, but you can be really excited about it. And I think that's what will happen with the Vikings. I do not believe that Sam Darnold is your franchise quarterback, and I don't think the Vikings do either. He's a placeholder that's overperforming, and I think a lot of the credit should go to Kevin O'Connell. And yeah, I don't think there's really a lot of reevaluation that needs to be done near the Vikings. I think this is just a happy accident. One more thing before I get to the main topic of the day. Another doubleheader Monday Night Football game. And do you notice how when I was talking about Titans-Dolphins, you probably didn't watch much of that game either. Because why would you? If that was the only Monday night game, you probably would have watched more of it. But because it was terrible, you watched Lions-Seahawks, right? Now, I'm not saying we should just have one terrible Monday Night Football game. I'd like for them to all be good. But I'm stating there was no reason for that Titans-Dolphins game to be a Monday Night Football game. If it's going to be a Monday Night Football game, don't put it against another game because, I mean, last week we had it good where both Monday Night Football games were pretty interesting. The Bills started trouncing the Jaguars, and then it wasn't interesting. But for a bit there, they were both pretty interesting. Obviously, Commanders-Bengals ended up being the more interesting one. But this week, I'm like, come on. What are we doing here? Like Seahawks, Lions, that was a legitimately fun matchup. Just make that Monday Night Football. Stop the doubleheaders. Oh my gosh, I hate them. Hate the Monday Night doubleheaders. All right, let's talk about the topic of today's episode. Jaden Daniels and the Commie Revolution. Jaden Daniels has been absolutely dealing for the Commanders, and they beat the Cardinals last week, 42-14. That's nuts, okay? So Commanders now 3-1 on the year. I honestly think they can win that division. I don't think the Eagles are very good. I don't think the Cowboys are very good, and I don't think the Giants are very good. The Commanders might be the best team in that division, and I think we all, me included, underrated Dan Quinn's coaching ability. Obviously, he was a very good coach with the Falcons. The 28-3 thing kind of tanked him, tanked his career, and then he had to go be a DC for the Cowboys. And when he was their DC, they had a very good defense. They're definitely missing him this year. Cliff Kingsbury, I was not very impressed with him when he was in Arizona, but he has really stepped up as the offensive coordinator with Washington and done some really good stuff there. So I think we got to give credit to their coaching staff because I do think this defense is not good. This Commanders D is not good at all. But the offense is so strong that it doesn't really matter. And the Cardinals have a bad defense too. So to me, the Cardinals versus Commanders was a battle of two fun offenses with bad defenses. And it ended up going that the Commanders' defense was apparently better and their offense was better too because they won 42-14. I wouldn't be saying that I wouldn't be like, oh, well, clearly the Commanders' defense and offense are better. They won 21-14. No. They won 42-14. They clearly had a better offense and better defense. Like, there's no doubt about it. And so everybody wants to talk about this fun Cardinals offense. The Commanders have a more fun offense, and their defense is not very good, still better than the Cardinals' defense. So I'm very impressed with this Commanders team. I honestly think they can win the division. To me, that would lock up Rookie of the Year for Jaden Daniels, and it's very impressive from him. I don't think he's going to hit the career, I think the best Rookie of the Year ever will permanently be C.J. Stroud. I don't know if that'll ever be topped, and that'll take a long time. And before that, it was probably Herbert. I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to hit those heights of either of those guys, but he's going to have a very strong rookie year, and so good for him. He lost his first career start, and against the Giants, and ever since then they've been balling out. Because week 2, it was like, oh, okay, they got to win, whatever. And then that Monday Night Football game everybody was kind of like, whoa. And then they played the Cardinals last week, beat them. The thing is, the Commanders, I don't know if they can beat really good teams. Let's say they win the division, they'll probably lose their wild card game, but they can beat the bad teams. So they're going to play the Browns this week. They're probably going to tear up the Browns. Let me pull up the Commie schedule real quick, because that to me would be important. Because if they have an easier schedule, then that would factor into what I'm trying to say about them being able to be in the playoffs. Okay. So their upcoming schedule, they play the Browns. It's not a very good team. They do play the Ravens. They'll probably lose the Ravens, right? The Panthers, I actually think that'll be a closer game than you guys expect. Bears, they can definitely beat them. Giants, they should beat them this time around. Steelers, they might lose, right? Eagles might lose. Cowboys, I think they could beat the Cowboys one time. I think they'll split with the Cowboys. Titans, they could beat the Titans. Saints, I'm not ready to declare the Saints not as good as, I'm not ready to declare that was a fluke. This is the week we decide. Monday Night Football this week. The Saints play the Chiefs. If the Saints get trounced, it's official. The Saints were not. It was a really hot start, but it's not. It's not right. It's not that legit. We will know this week. This is the week we decide. So we'll wait on that. Eagles. Let's say they go 0-2 against the Eagles. Then they play the Falcons. And we already said they're splitting with the Cowboys. So let me count real quick wins we chalked up. Say we beat the Browns. Let's give them Bears, Giants, splitting with the Cowboys, beating the Titans. Let's say they beat the Saints and the Falcons. That would put them at 10-7. It's probably winning that division. And that's if they lose both games to the Eagles, they lose to the Steelers, they lose to the Panthers, and then they lose to the Eagles again. That's if that happens. And they might be better than that. They might beat the Panthers, honestly. They probably should. I think I'm just being hopeful because they're my Panthers. So just keep an eye out. I don't really have a very hard schedule. So, all right. Very happy for Terry McLaurin. I've been singing Terry McLaurin's praises for a long time, and I'm glad that he actually has a quarterback he could perform well with. So I'm very happy for him, and underrated fantasy pickup. And I was able to get Jaden Daniels in a fantasy league. Very happy I picked him up. I figured, I don't know if he's really going to be that good, but he'll be really good fantasy-wise. And he is good, and he's good fantasy-wise. So that's pretty awesome. All right, let's do marquee matchups this week. 1 p.m., we got Bills at Texans. Both very good teams. Texans had a way too close for comfort game last week against the Jaguars. So to me, I think the Bills are better than the Texans. But we'll see. This Texans team could definitely get rolling and beat the Bills. Nico Collins has been electric. Nico Collins was so good last week. Goodness. He's putting himself a top 5 receiver in the NFL at the moment. He's doing crazy stuff. We got Ravens at Bengals. Two teams that have worse records than they'd like. I'm expecting the Ravens to win this, but either way, it'll be a fun game. 4 p.m., not a lot of good 4 p.m. games this week. I went for Cardinals-Niners instead of Packers-Rams. Packers-Rams is interesting. You get the Jordan Love second game back. He's pissed off that they lost last week to the Vikings. I could see that, but I honestly think the Rams are having a lot of problems this year. It's been a bit of a year from hell for the Rams. I'm starting to think my very high expectations of them are not going to happen. So just too many injuries for them. And so I think I ended up going for Cardinals at Niners for the marquee matchup. Not really sure who wins that game. So to me, that's why it's interesting. There's not really, I could see it going either way. I'm expecting the Niners win, but maybe the Cardinals get the upset, and that'd be more interesting. Let's go to primetime picks. Thursday Night Football, we have Bucs versus Falcons. I'm going with the Buccaneers. Baker deals on Thursday Night Football. Excited for that. Sunday Night Football, Steelers versus Cowboys. I'm taking the Steelers. I honestly think Justin Fields gets a win on Sunday Night Football with the Steelers, and people start talking about him like, whoa, he looked really good. It's like, yeah, he's doing well there. Monday Night Football, Chiefs versus Saints. This is where we figure out if the Chiefs, not the Chiefs, this is where we figure out if that Saints thing at the beginning of the year was just weird and that they're not really that good. They're 2-2 for a reason. They've lost their last 2 games for a reason. They're about to fall to 2-3. Yeah, I think that's what happens this week. I think the Chiefs kind of end that fun little ride the Saints were on the first 2 weeks of the season. So Chiefs win and move to 5-0. 5-0 for the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, well, I told you all that'd be quick. That was pretty quick. That was less than a half hour. Well, since we're already here, I guess I'll touch on something else. We'll talk about some movies and TV shows. So we're going to shift over to that. That's all for NFL this week. Didn't talk any college just because Colorado got a big win. So big, in fact, that I barely watched it because I was just like, I'd gotten out of calling a football game I was doing, and then I was like, yeah, we are going to trounce them. I saw like the score after the first, I think it was like the first half score, and I was like, we're going to be fine. I did see Travis Hunter hit the Heisman pose. That was crazy. Oh, quick thing that was funny. So ESPN College Game Day is traveling to Berkeley for Cal versus Miami this week, and somebody said they should print T-shirts that's called this game Woke versus Coke, and I just thought that was really funny. All right, let's go to ramblings of reels and writings. I'm watching a lot more television than movies as of late. This year, it's going to be the most TV shows I've watched since doing the Sort of Sporties. This will be the third iteration of the Sort of Sporties, and this year will be, I don't know if we count that first year, because it wasn't really, it was, if you go back, for anybody who really is into the history of the Sort of Sports podcast, which if you are, I don't know why, but I don't know why you would be, but I appreciate it if you are. If you're really invested in the history of the Sort of Sports podcast. Episode 20 is technically the first ever Sort of Sporties, but I don't know if really anybody would consider that the Sort of Sporties. It's titled the Sort of Sports Podcast Movie and TV and Sort of TV Awards Ceremony. And what I do is I talk about No Way Home, then I rank the MCU movies, which I'm pretty sure if I look at that ranking now, I'm like, you gross. Let me look at that real quick. Where did I have Iron Man 3? That's what matters. Oh, I had Iron Man 3 below Thor 1. I had Iron Man 3 below Ant-Man and the Wasp. Goodness. Yeah, this is completely inaccurate now. Wow, Ryan. Winter Soldier, second tier, not top tier, Ryan? Goodness. I don't know what I was. Gosh. Yeah, goodness, guys. Wow. That's terrible. Terrible work for me. Then I randomly touch on the NBA at the end. Talk about that for a little bit. So, it's very much it's, you can tell it was I had the idea for what I eventually wanted to do, but I hadn't really figured out how to do the Sort of Sporties. And then the next year, I figured out the format, what I wanted exactly it to be, and all that. So to me, the first Sort of Sporties is 2022. I think that's the better way to look at it, in my humble opinion. And I mean, it is, I guess at the end of the day, it's whatever I say it is, right? So I am in charge. So episode 39 is the 2022 Sort of Sporties. And to me, that's the first ever Sort of Sporties. Last year was the second, and this year will be the third iteration of the Sort of Sporties. The difference in episodes is so funny to me. Because, so the first ever Sort of Sporties is episode 39. Well, the one that was like a pseudo Sort of Sporties, it was kind of like the early stages of it, is episode 20. So a 19 episode difference. Well, the difference between the Sort of Sporties 2022 and 2023 is 40 episodes. It's episode 39 to episode 79. So big difference between those. I don't know what we'll be at this year. 40 would be 119. I don't know how that'll track out. We'll have to just see how many episodes I end up making. I don't know if it'll be 40 again. It'd be really funny if it worked out to be 40 again. I don't know if it will or won't. We'll find out. Anyways, I also realized at one point, I've named 2 different episodes I was very wrong, and I didn't realize that. Episode 83 was titled I Was Very Wrong, and it was when the Ravens lost the AFC Championship. And then episode 199 is I Was Very Wrong, and it's when the Celtics won the NBA Championship. So I just think I didn't even realize that like I had named 2 episodes I was very wrong. I think if I would have realized, I would have said I was very wrong, parentheses, again. But now I've already committed to the fact that that's just kind of how it's titled now. So I'm not really going to go change it. It's just kind of what it is now. So, yeah. It is what it is now. Okay. Yeah, so this year's Sort of Sporty is going to be a little more TV focused than movie. Probably the least amount of movies we're going to put in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to be honest. Last year, I feel like I watched a lot of movies that I had been waiting to watch for a while that I thought I would probably like. Let me think about some movies that I think of like that. I knew going in that I was probably going to really like Seven. I was like, I'm probably going to like this because I really like Fincher. This sounds interesting, And I'd seen Social Network before. So then it was like, last year was full of a lot of movies that I watched and was like, yeah, these aren't in the Hall of Fame yet. Like, for example, Guardians of the Galaxy, Die Hard, Happy Gilmore. Actually, no, not Happy Gilmore. Last year was actually the first year I ever watched that. But Guardians of the Galaxy, Die Hard, The Suicide Squad, Creed. Those are movies I had all seen before. But then I watched last year, and they hadn't been put in the Hall of Fame yet. So then they got in. So last year, we put, I think it was 25 movies in the Hall of Fame? Something around there. A year before that, we put in, I think, 10 movies in the Hall of Fame. I can look. Let me check real quick. 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 10. So we put 10 and then we put 25 in last year. This year it might be less than 10 because this year I've been watching a lot more things where it's like I've been trying more new stuff I never really, obviously I've heard about a lot of these movies. Like I've heard of Whiplash, right? I didn't think Whiplash is a guaranteed I'm going to love it. I put it like where I thought La La Land, where I was like, we'll see what I think. No, I loved La La Land. I liked Whiplash. I don't think Whiplash is going in the Hall of Fame. I tried Zoolander. Really liked Zoolander. Zoolander is not a Happy Gilmore level Hall of Fame for me. Does that make sense? There are some movies that I've watched this year that I think will go in the Hall of Fame, though. I mean, obviously, we do have some Hall of Fame movies. It's probably going to be the most we've ever had movies from that year go in the Hall of Fame. I'm being honest. There's a couple movies that released this year that might get into the Hall of Fame, and so that will be pretty interesting. But I'm not sure if I'm going to create a Hall of Fame for TV shows. A part of me is starting to think about it because this year, I've watched more TV than ever. I mean, I watched Ted, which I loved. I don't know if The Bachelor is really eligible for the TV awards, but I did love this. It was a good season, The Bachelor. True Detective, probably the greatest TV show of all time. Invincible Season 2 this year. Finished Burn Notice Season 3. I'm working through Burn Notice Season 4. I started The Mandalorian, and then I never finished it. I watched the first 2 episodes. I was like, damn, this show's awesome. And then I just never watched it again. I don't really know why. And then, obviously, I watched Batman the Cape Crusader. I watched X-Men 97, and I watched The Penguin right now. So a lot of TV shows for me this year. And then we're going to have the new season of Outer Banks, which I'm going to watch. So that's going to be pretty awesome. And, a lot of television for me this year. I'm pretty proud of myself. So to me, 2024 has been the year of Ryan and TV. I think I stepped up my television game this year. I still would like to get more movies in before the end of the year. We're in October, so I got 3 more months to watch a lot of movies. And I will say, last year, I probably will not watch as many movies as I did in 2023 again until I am, in my 60s. And if I'm still doing my podcast in my 60s, we will look back and we will compare. Because I just had so much time on my hands to watch movies between being in my senior year of high school where I would basically watch 2 movies a day because I would start one at the beginning of the day because I had a couple classes by the second semester. We just didn't, well, I guess it'd be fourth, you know what I mean? The second half of the year. We just wouldn't do much. So I would just start a movie in the one class we didn't do much. Then I would watch it more in study hall. Then I watched it again in the other class we didn't do much. So I would get one movie in during school. Well, if I had any extra time, I'd start another movie. Well, then I'd go home that night and finish that movie. I actually remember I was in my high school production of Frozen. It was the musical my senior year. I was Hans. And I remember sitting in my dressing room, quote unquote. I mean, I went to a very small school, so it wasn't like we had actual dressing rooms. It was literally like this room in the band room that's like a practice room. But me and my buddy were like two of the only dudes in the show. And we were just like, yeah, this is our dressing room. Because we were seniors and we'd been doing it forever. We were just like, hell, no one's going to care if we just claim this room for ourselves. We were just like, yeah, we're not going to go to the regular changing room. Me and Dalton, we're just taking this room in the band room. So like everybody else had to change in the actual like changing like room for the cast, and we were just like, we get our own private now. Why not? And no one really stopped us. So I don't know if we were dicks or if we were just doing whatever we wanted to. I think maybe a bit of both. Who knows? But anyways, I remember sitting there in my dressing room, and there was like a solid like half hour in between when I came on, and like there was a solid like half hour break for me, because it was I got my makeup done and on, and I like was ready to go and I was dressed, and there was a half hour between when like what I was doing and when the show started, and I remember I just pulled out my phone and started watching Cobra, like the Sylvester Stallone movie, and I remember I had like 10 minutes left in it. And I went out and performed my song. Then I came back into the band room and finished Cobra, put it in the notes, like from movies I'd watched, went back out on stage and finished the show because I had like a 10-minute break in between scenes. I don't think I'll ever have that level. I mean, like, here's the thing, is I could do that now. I could go to my classes at college in between, watch movies, but that's just not, I don't know. This is not just how I'm rolling now. I've been, in between, I do stuff like this. I've been reading The Stand. And I'll watch maybe an episode of Burn Notice in between. It's just going to be less movies this year. And a part of me is a little disappointed in myself because it's nowhere near as much as I watched in 2023. But then I had to accept, like, you probably will never watch as many movies as you did in 2023, Ryan. Like, you were putting up insane numbers. So that might have just been, like, my Cooper Cup MVP year. Like, it was just absolutely nutty numbers. And I'm still, going to be a really good receiver, but I don't know if I'll ever put up those numbers again. I'm saying I might not for a very long time. Those were just insane numbers. I was basically averaging a movie every 2 days for like a period there, which is just absolutely insane. I think by the end of the year, I averaged a movie every 3 days, which is just nuts. Like absolutely insane numbers. Now, granted, maybe I'm going to slow down on the TV shows and watch a lot of movies by the end of the year, but I think I've really been in a TV mood as of late, and I should take advantage because I'm more of a movie guy. So I'm pretty proud of myself that I've been watching TV shows. But speaking of those TV shows, did want to talk about X-Men 97 was probably the best X-Men thing that's ever been made. I just want to state, as a massive X-Men fan, you guys know my favorite superheroes are Spider-Man, Superman, and Batman in that order, but my favorite team is by far the X-Men. I like the Teen Titans because they're kind of like DC's answer to the X-Men, but the X-Men are better by a long shot. And I think if you came down to it, like I probably like the Justice League more than the Teen Titans. But if you were going to like, hey, what comic are you reading? I'm reading the Teen Titans comics 100%. But if you're like, I don't know. I take this back. I think I like the Teen Titans more than the Justice League. It's just I really like the show Justice League Unlimited. I think Justice League Unlimited is so good. I recommend it to anybody who like doesn't. If anybody ever is like, yeah, I'm not really into DC, I'd be like, okay, watch Justice League Unlimited. To me, that's like, yeah, it's so good because it's so cool about how they have a different character they kind of focus on every episode. The first 2 episodes are also elite. Like if you don't like the show from the first 2 episodes, you don't know what then don't watch the rest of the show. You're wasting your time because the first episode is so fun how they use Green Arrow, who's just one of the best DC characters. One of the best. I need to watch Arrow again. I need to run through Arrow. I watched Bits and Pizza when I was younger. I need to actually sit down and run through Arrow, the whole show. I know it definitely gets worse as it goes on. It's not as strong as early on, but I got it at some point. That and Daredevil. I think my goal by the end of the year is to watch Daredevil. I think that's kind of the main one I feel like I need to watch. Arrow's very long, whereas Daredevil's only 40 episodes. I say only 40, but I don't know. I don't think I'm going to have I don't know. I need to also watch that Terminator show that came out. that looked pretty sweet, the animated one on Netflix. But anyways, X-Men 97, if you were somebody who is like, yeah, I like MCU, but I've never really gotten into the X-Men because I wasn't into those movies, watch X-Men 97. It is the best X-Men thing it's probably ever been made. If you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. But if you don't like it, okay. Fine. But please watch X-Men 97. And if you like X-Men 97, try Justice League Unlimited while you're at it. If you're like, oh, I'm not really into DC, try Justice League Unlimited. It's pretty awesome. So, that second episode with Superman, for the man who has everything. Oh my gosh. Based off the Alan Moore comic. It's like the only adaptation of Alan Moore's work he likes. That's how good Justice League Unlimited is. Alan Moore, I mean, this is a big deal. Alan Moore does not like adaptations. He hates the Watchmen movies. There's only one. He hates the Watchmen movie. I think it's a terrible representation of his work. I don't hate the Watchmen movie, but I'm not a big fan of it either. I'm just not a fan of Zack Snyder superhero movies. It's just not for me. I will say I think my favorite character in Watchmen is Rorschach. And I understand he's not like a great guy. I understand that he's definitely a problem. But I just think he's the most interesting. I don't know. You can't tell me when you're reading Watchmen that like Dr. Manhattan is your favorite character. Like you can't. I mean, don't lie to me. Because he's not. It's like maybe your favorite character is Night Owl, but no, Night Owl is not my favorite. And obviously Ozymandias isn't my favorite. The comedian's probably nobody's favorite. I mean, goodness, no. I mean, your favorite could be like, he's like Silk Spectre, I guess. A little bit of Sally Jupiter, maybe. I don't know, but I don't know. To me, Rorschach is my favorite, even though he is a complete issue. I don't know. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm a bad guy for that, but he's just the most interesting. We should stop making Watchmen adaptations, though. I think they made an animated Watchmen show. Yeah, they did this year, and I don't know anyone who's watched it. I don't really know why they even made it. We don't need this. That's like one of the best comic books ever made. And we've tried to make it, and it's just not as good. So it's just stop. Just stop. Let's not do that. I might try the Green Lantern animated show at some point. You know. Probably should watch Young Justice and the actual Justice League, Young Justice and the actual Teen Titans show at some point. Maybe I will at some point, but not anytime soon. I just don't really have any interest in it anytime soon. So at the moment, it's Burn Notice, baby. That's the show at the moment. Burn Notice is, at this point, it is my favorite show that is not a sitcom. Like my favorite shows, I would say are like Gravity Falls, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? What's New Scooby-Doo? Scooby-Doo, Mystery Incorporated. I don't know if Mystery Incorporated is one of my favorite shows. Maybe. But here's the thing, I haven't watched all of it. That's the thing with me, you know? I've seen all of What's New in Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? So maybe I need to watch all of Mystery Incorporated so I can officially claim it as one of my favorite shows. But I mean, the top two of my favorite shows are easily Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Seinfeld. Nothing comes close. Those are my two favorite shows of all time, point blank. But as far as non-sitcom, now I guess you would say, well, Scooby-Doo isn't a sitcom. Gravity Falls isn't a sitcom. I guess to me, I put them in there where like they're very funny. Whereas Burn Notice is probably my biggest, like, I don't know. It's not a prestige TV show, but to me, it's like the closest I get, really. It's like, I don't know. Maybe I need to break it into categories. So like my favorite TV shows of all time are like, if we're talking sitcom, Seinfeld and Fresh Prince. Talking animated, it's going to be like Gravity Falls and Scooby-Doo stuff. I'm just going to put Scooby-Doo all together. I don't feel like having to specify that a pup named Scooby-Doo is fourth if I had to rank the series. But if you want to know, I would put Pup Named Scooby-Doo fourth. After What's New and Where Are You are in a battle to the death for the top spot. And then Mystery Incorporated's third. But I need to finish Mystery Incorporated so I can actually make that official. But I actually like Be Cool Scooby-Doo. I like all of them. I don't really like the one that Shaggy and Scooby-Doo get a clue. That one was rough. I remember watching that when I was younger. Not the strongest. Part of me would like to rewatch it, though, just for curiosity's sake. But anyways. Then we got favorite shows that are non-animated, and that's Burn Notice and True Detective. That's like drama shows. That's easily my top. True Detective season 1 is like the best season of TV ever, whereas Burn Notice is just like my favorite show to like watch in general. Halfway through season 4, it just does not get old. I don't know what it is about it. Actually, I do know what it is. It's like the perfect. It starts off like this, like very Elmore. Here's my thing is I'm gonna probably watch Justified eventually, just based off of Elmore Leonard's stuff, based off of his works. Raylan Givens, obviously his character. So, it's Elmore Leonard stuff. I don't really know if Justified is gonna feel as Elmore Leonardy as Burn Notice does. Because Burn Notice is the perfect. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and if Justified takes itself too seriously, it might be a very strong adaptation. But to me, what makes the Elmore Leonard novels fun is that never anything's too serious. You're never dealing with somebody who's too. It's never like True Detective where they're like fighting somebody that you're like, wow, this is really dark. That never happens in Elmore Leonard. It doesn't. Everything's very pulpy. It's always sleazy bad guys, and it's beautiful women and sleazy bad guys and a handsome hero who's there to like. It's very like Pulp Fiction, not the movie Pulp Fiction, like literal Pulp Fiction. And Burn Notice, I think, is like that, which is why I love it so much. And as it's going on, it's getting more intense and more spy espionage. But I'm fine with that because the story is maturing and it's going in a different direction over time instead of shifting like drastically. So like I think season 7 will feel less Elmore Leonard-y pulpy than season 2 did. Season 2 was like the peak of that. But I'm not going to be mad because it's like over time the show changed and evolved what it was doing. And I can still go back and watch the more pulpy seasons of 1, 2, 3. And then 4 feels like we're starting to shift to more spy stories. And I'm fine with that because I don't know if they could have kept 7 seasons of the pulpy crime. I might have had to shift eventually. But it just feels like every episode they're doing something incredible in Burn Notice. I basically started watching the show because I liked Psych. And I hadn't watched a ton of Psych. Like I had gotten through most of the first season. And I liked Psych, thought it was really fun. And I had heard the Burn Notice was very fun. I was like, I'll just watch an episode to give it a shot. And then I just absolutely loved it. I love it even more than I like Psych. Because I've watched more episodes of Burn Notice than any other show that's non-sitcom. So that's pretty impressive for me. Because I'm like more than 40 episodes in. So, or non-Scooby-Doo Gravity Falls. You know what I mean? That type of stuff. So, out of real people dramas, it is the most I've ever watched of anything. Because, yeah. I think Stranger Things is probably in my favorite shows ever, too. So is Outer Banks. They're up there, too. I don't know if I like Outer Banks more. Okay, I like Stranger Things more than Outer Banks, but the season 1 of Outer Banks is one of my favorite seasons of television ever. Like, it's up there with, like, True Detective for me. Now, are they anywhere near the same quality? No. True Detective is, like, a perfect season of TV. But I just love that first season of Outer Banks. It's so much fun, and I recommend it to literally everybody that's my age. And it was, like, kind of a thing at my high school. Like, everybody watched Outer Banks, and everybody would talk about it. It was so much fun. And so I'm very excited for the 4th season. There's no way it's as good as that first. I'm just kind of watching the show just because I love the characters at this point. But it's never going to be as good as that first season. But it's okay. As far as the Penguin goes, the Penguin is incredible. Better than I thought it would be. Not that I thought it would be bad. I thought it would be very good. But it looks like a movie. Like it's shot. The HBO money doesn't lie. Like it looks like the Batman looks. Which is very impressive to me because it is on a television budget. Farrell is absolutely killing it as Oswald Cobblepot. He's called Oz Cobb in this. His name is Oswald. He was called Oswald last night, and he was called the Penguin. I think what they're doing here is they might be They say they changed his name because of it was too comic booky and it sounded like it came from money. So that's why they changed it to Oz Cobb instead of Oswald Cobblepot because he doesn't come from money. My theory is that it's going to relate to the Court of Owls because there's a member in the Court of Owls whose last name's Cobb. And so Matt Reeves is like, he's saying to the public, oh, it's this, but in reality, it's a dirty little trick. That's what I'm hoping. But if you liked the Batman and you enjoy like crime stuff, you should watch this. It is, the best way to describe it is it's Tony Soprano Batman stuff. It's Tony Soprano in the Batman world. And that is pretty much how they're playing it. They're not even trying to lie. That is basically what it is. It's not plagiarism if you copy yourself, is pretty much what HBO is saying. And it's awesome. It is incredibly entertaining. It is a very character. It feels very character driven, and your party was like, oh well, I don't really know. Like last night, I was watching episode 2 with my buddies, and RJ was like, yeah, this episode just not as much going on. It was funny. We actually paused it. He was on the phone. He got a call, and once the call ended, he's like, okay, let's resume. And there was like 20 minutes left in the episode, and I was like, what do you think episode 2? And he's like, I don't think it's as good as the first. Just not a lot happening. It's definitely slowing down. They're just focusing on his character. And I'm like, yeah. Well, then it's funny. As soon as we said that, the next 20 minutes were just like batshit, and it was like crazy. And there was a lot happening, and we were like, oh well, never mind. Never mind. The show just has the juice. Like it's just got something to it. That feels special. Like it just feels. I don't know. It's kind of like when you watch Breaking Bad, where it just got that it factor, where you're just drawn in by it. And I feel like that's the thing that happens a lot with shows. Like a show there's just like there's something with a show because of the nature of you're not going to watch it in one sitting, that it has to have that feeling you want to come back to that world. You want to rejoin. Like The Bachelor is really good about that, right? The Bachelor makes you feel like you got to figure out what happens next. Whether you don't like this so-and-so, or you love so-and-so, or you think so-and-so is hilarious, you're too intrigued to not at least know what happened, right? It pulls you back in. I would say Breaking Bad's just got this it factor where you're always, no matter what an episode does, you're always intrigued to see what they're doing because you buy into the characters. A lot of people that really like Breaking Bad, I am not a huge, Breaking Bad's in this weird space where I like it, but I don't love it. I think it's really great. If it's your favorite show, I understand. I will finish it eventually. I am in the middle of season 4. I have been in the middle of season 4 for about, goodness, I can't remember last time I watched Breaking Bad. Oh my gosh, it's been a long time, guys. It's been a long time. I remember watching it my senior year of high school, so that was 2 years ago. Goodness, wow. Yeah, it's been a long time. I probably like Better Call Saul better, but a lot of people, if they really like it, it's because they really like Jesse. They really bought into his character. I think it's what's good about Penguin is it's got the same thing where you really buy into him as a character, and so that's what makes it. You keep coming back to it. So it's got the juice. It's got that it factor. So I think that's what's making it really entertaining. So yeah, I would check it out if you're anywhere intrigued by it at least. But that's all from me. I will catch you all in the next one. It'll just be me for NFL talk, and then in 2 weeks we will return with Andy and RJ for more baseball. So that's the plan. Catch you all in the next one.